Hello again. So we're here with the Packback videos here. So we're just going over some stuff that we talked about. So some of this, again, is like from the past week and also from this current week. And I say, a lot of you guys fixate on policing topics. Of course, it's like a big, important issue in this. I'm sure a lot of you have thought about becoming police officers, or maybe you've changed your minds recently. Who knows? And so it seems to be a common thing. And I guess if there are different questions, then I'll pick that up. If not, then we're just going to leave it as is, right? So, first question that I saw so far is from Jeffrey Ortiz. My camera shook. Oh my God. Who's asking, are officers trained differently based on what department they work for, or do all officers get the same training? And the simple answer to this is that first, officers are trained differently across every single police department. It does it, and it changes all over the country. Different states will have different standards. Almost all of them, learn some legal stuff, right? They'll learn about how to testify in front of court. They'll all learn some variation of takedown techniques, but the actual content of the training, has to meet the standards of the state. The duration of it also varies by state, as well as the what things are important, what things are not. Some will focus more on racial ethnic differences. Others are going to learn more about breakdown tactics and stuff like that, rather than dealing with people and being polite and stuff like that. Some are going to emphasize more of that. Some are going to have more, the people are militaristic, less on community policing, and so on. I also remember there was a time when I thought about being a police officer, and I remember interviewing with a police department, and first time I had heard about this, but they made every officer do swimming lessons and training, even if you already knew how to swim, because they had someone die in some floods, right? So that's again unusual. Is that I don't know the circumstances of that police officer dying because of swimming, but now everyone does it, right? So, there's pros and cons with that, right? Is that one, we have this huge variation across states. Some are better at maintaining training and retraining than others. But a lot of states or cities, may not be able to afford training it. Like a lot of rural communities will end up contracting out or trying to hire people from major, larger police departments, maybe people who are trying to retire, or they'll request officers to be already trained before you work for the small police department because they don't have money to do it. The thing is too that there's not really a lot of guidance at the federal level with doing this. So even though there's going to be some core similarities, they do differ quite a bit from state to state. The other part to me is is that there is this conception that officers receive less training than other people. If you look at hours in place, and if you only look at required hours that go in, that part is true. But there's also, most officers go through something called a field training officer program, where a lot of the skills and techniques that you've learned also is supervised for the next year, possibly two, possibly a year and a half, depending on the agency, by another supervisor officer. So someone who's gone through training helps guide the police officer and helps them here's what you do in this situation, here's how we do, it's sort of like a backup situation kind of thing. So, yes, training on prescribed hours is shorter, but there is also a year or more that is not just in the classroom. It's practical experience. So keep that in mind, as well as that it's not quite what we imagine it to be. It's a little like that, but it's not a ton. It's not exactly like that, but it does raise important questions about how much training is necessary for an officer, and what training should they go through, what things should be uniform. Should we have things uniform, right? Because the thing about our nation is that it's incredibly diverse and culturally, and from every part of the nook and cranny of the country, they have different experiences. Every community is different, and do we really want to live in society where everything's governed from a central government? Historically, this nation has said we want to do our own thing. We want everything as local as possible, and other times we want more of leadership. We're sort of unique from a lot of other countries by how fragmented we are, by how much different, how little central government oversight there is relative to other developed countries. Again, good or bad, but it is something that if you think about what things would want consistent across police departments, right? What things would absolutely have to be the same. And, if we start making demands on police departments like that, almost certainly they're going to call for departments to, who's going to help fund this when we have limited budgets, because not everything is funded in a certain way. So it creates like a lot of problems to consider. But I really like this question, Jeffrey Ortiz. Really appreciate you asking it. Let's take a look at another one. So we have Eric Rivera, who's asking, why are some laws not forced? So sometimes when we think about, and he cites an example about jaywalking. So jaywalking is one of those ones, like, is it really worth like giving someone a ticket or stopping them or getting involved in some way? And depending on who you are, that may or may not be true, right? Do we really want to stop everyone for every little minor petty theft thing? One, officers have limited supplies anyway, in terms of resources, in terms of time, in terms of backup to intervene with everyone. And the truth is, they can't be literally everywhere all the time. Secondly, people usually have to know that something is a crime or be willing to report it in order for police to do anything about it, to actually enforce it. And so whether you don't think something is serious enough to bring attention to police, or you don't, allow that or something like that, or like report it, or the police don't know, they're not going to do it, right? And because officers have limited resources, they can't really do everything, right? They have to prioritize, right? Do we really want officer time being used to, patrol jaywalking when, there's like robbers afoot or something like that, right? So that's like a very different situation where it's like, is that something that we want them to do? And some would say maybe no. Just because, they have other things to concentrate on. We don't necessarily want to do that. Also, some laws are dumb, right? We don't really want to investigate everything just because they're dumb. They shouldn't be involved, and so they become legal because no one really does anything about it. And again, that's something that is usually up to the purview of a police department or a local area, because there's also political, reasons why someone may not want to do it. Maybe it's an unpopular law. Maybe they don't want anything to do with it. Maybe they're fearful of a backlash or something like that. So, there's a lot of different reasons why someone may or may not, want to do that. So there's any number of reasons, right? At the same time, there are questions about, what should we prioritize and why is that important? And does that reflect really the interest of the community or of the nation as a whole? Again, it leads to a different question of what things should we prioritize? What things are most important? What things should we, kind of give a pass on, right? So we'll go ahead and end this video here, but I appreciate y'all who are still watching videos, because a lot of you are not, for stepping in. I guess I'll see the watchers next time.